On your way, get ready for the revolutionary rumble on the radio with the original George of the political jungle. Galloway, celebrate the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway. If you think you're hard enough, get it on the radio station that gives power to the people. Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
It's the mother of all talks. It's the Open University of the airwaves. Here, only on Talk Radio every week between 7 and 10. But it's a two-way street. I need your calls, 0344 499 1000. We have a show in store for you tonight.
The mother of all talk shows with George Galloway on Talk Radio. We'll get you talking.
Enough already. Enough in the Yemen. This evening, 50 children have been slaughtered, beheaded by the Saudi Arabian Air Force. That's 50 small school children in a school bus, bombed by the Saudi Arabian Air Force, deploying bombs and rockets sold to them by us, by Great Britain, by the United States of America. A command and control cell staffed by on-loan British and American officers commands the Saudi forces in the war against Yemen, the poorest country in the Middle East. Thousands upon thousands have been slaughtered in this senseless conflict over one of the poorest patches of earth. It is an utter scandal that we continue to kiss the noses and any other part of the anatomy required of this medieval barbarism that calls itself Saudi Arabia. 50 children in one go at one time. Imagine your child was on that school bus. 1 second, the children are happily going home from school, and the next, they are ash. They are burning corpses, just like that. I don't know how they're going to get out of this one. I know that the Saudis don't give a damn. Not a damn. Last night, they beheaded a convicted Burmese prisoner and then crucified him, minus his head. These are our friends in the East. They're our best friends in the East. They're our best friends in the East for whom we are turning the world upside down. We are dancing, belly dancing, to these belly dancers, these grotesque hulks that need a block and tackle to lift them off their golden thrones. And for what? For money? How dirty does your money have to be before it'll make us turn our noses up in the face of it? I'm going to argue tonight that there can be no case for selling weapons to the Saudi Arabian dictatorship, whilst it massacres its neighbors in an illegal, aggressive war of choice, and whilst it suppresses a very substantial portion of its own people. Because according to our law, it is illegal to sell weapons to any country if those weapons might be used for internal repression or external aggression. In this case, guilty on both counts. Now, guess what? The much maligned Jeremy Corbyn, more than a year ago, tabled exactly that motion in the House of Commons. Actually, it was milder than that. It was that Saudi Arabian arms sales should be suspended pending an international investigation into reports of war crimes against the people of Yemen. and more than 100 Labour MPs broke a 3-line whip and abstained on the motion. Imagine. And what a grisly crew they were. What a surprising crew they were. One of them was Ben Bradshaw, an openly out gay MP, breaking a Labour 3-line whip in defence of a Saudi Wahhabi ideology that throws men like him off high buildings. People who would never dream of condoning the death penalty in any other country, including the United States of America, broke a 3-line whip in defence of Saudi Arabia. Women Labour MPs, feminist Labour MPs, broke a 3-line whip in defence of Saudi Arabia. I argued here and elsewhere. At the time, Jeremy Corbyn should have drawn that line in the sand. Because guess what? That 100 Labour MPs keep cropping up over and over and over again. Not least on the crime that took place last night in Gaza, where amongst many others, a young pregnant mother and her 14-month-old baby girl were murdered by Israeli warplanes, by the state whose friends in the British Parliament demand that Jeremy Corbyn bow the knee and surrender to them. I told Corbyn to draw the line in the sand on the Saudi vote, and if he had, he wouldn't be in the trouble he's now in, with exactly the same members of Parliament. It's not that I can see into the future. It's not that I'm a clairvoyant. If I was, maybe I should do the football pools. It's that I know what's really going on. And I know for whom people are really working. I know from what they say, and I know from the way that they say it. And Jeremy Corbyn is even older than me, been in politics just as long as me. And I interviewed today a man called Mark Wadsworth, a black civil rights activist in Labour politics in Britain for more than 40 years. A comrade of Jeremy Corbyn's, who was thrown to the wolves, as so many have been. Comrade after comrade after comrade, thrown to the wolves, one by one by one, in the hope that the wolves will go away. But you can't keep a wolf happy until you're dead and in its belly. We'll be talking about all these issues tonight, and you can have your say. 0344 499 1000. And we're going to return to Boris Johnson. I am aghast, not at the Tommy Robinson type lumpen thugs that are lining up to support the old Etonian tuck shop toff Boris Johnson, because I knew that that would happen. But the liberals, the nice people who are lining up to my own face, telling me that they support Boris Johnson's comments. I hate burqas. I hate niqabs. I hate to see them. But it's none of my business. It's none of my business what Cass, my producer, wears, or what colour her hair is, or whether she covers up her hair, or whether she's wearing drawers. It's none of my business. It's none of anybody's business what a woman wears. Not least because this isn't about what they wear at all. After all, most of the people opining about burqas don't even know what a burqa is. Don't even know the difference between a burqa and a niqab. Don't know the difference between a burqa and a niqab and a hijab, which is merely a head square, as my old mother would have called it. And once you banned the burqa, you'll ban the niqab. And once you've banned the burqa and the niqab, it won't be long before you're demanding that you ban the hijab. And then it won't be long before you say, what about these Jewish women in Stamford Hill? Their burqas are even more opaque than any burqa worn by any Muslim woman. There's not many of them, but there's not many women wearing burqas either. Most of the burqas that you'll see in Britain are being worn by Saudi Arabian tourists in London. Go to Harrods. You'll see hundreds of people in burqas. What are you going to do? You're going to ban Saudi tourists from London? How will that work? Are you going to insist that a Saudi woman coming to Britain for a holiday has to dress differently? Take off her scarf, take off her cloak, bare her face so you can look at it as you fleece her for another price of another ice cream cone or another ring of emeralds or diamonds from British stores. Think about the track that you are on. And once you ban them, what about the Sikhs? You're going to ban turbans? You're going to stop people covering their hair? Well, you'll need to ban Sikhs from wearing turbans. Now let me put my cards on the table. I love Sikhs. All of my life I've loved them. The first friend of colour I ever had was a Sikh, Charan Singh Athwal, and a beautiful person he was, and a beautiful man he was, with his black turban. I've never forgotten it, though it's 45 years since I set eyes upon him. I can still see him in my eyes when I see Sikh people being abused and repressed, either here or in Prime Minister Modi's India. The Sikh people are part of the land of the Punjab. The land of the Punjab is rising up this weekend, manifested in Trafalgar Square, and I'll be there, demanding the peaceful right of self-determination, demanding not an uprising, not an armed struggle, demanding a piece of paper on which they can put an X to determine their relationship to Mr. Modi's India, demanding an end to bigotry and discrimination and state violence against Sikh people. I stand with the Sikhs. I stand with Sikhs for justice. Where do you stand? And we'll be interviewing one of the leaders of that peaceful campaign for a referendum in the Punjab in the course of this show. It's also Book Lovers Day. I'm a book lover. Are you? There are too few now, aren't there? How many people do you see reading books now? Once upon a time, you got on the London Underground, everybody was reading a book. Those that weren't reading a book were reading a newspaper. Now they're all reading their telephones. Books have changed my life. In fact, I'll tell you the book that changed my life. You might never have heard of it. It was by a man called Laurie Lee. It was called As I Walked Out One Midsummer Morning. It was a Penguin classic. I read it and I never stopped reading again. So I want to hear from you. Which books made a difference to you? Which books changed your life? Which books do you recommend that others read so that they might change theirs? It's going to be the mother of all talk shows.
Now it's up to you to let the debate begin. If you think George Galloway is plain wrong, we want to hear from you. Give us a call on 0344 499 1000.